A guy I used to work with had a great phrase that he used to describe short-sighted behavior. If we were talking about someone who had sacrificed long-term profit for short-term payoff, he'd say that they were stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. That sort of behavior is all too common in most industries, and unfortunately, our industry is no exception. When it comes to selling, the most extreme example of that kind of short-sightedness is the salesperson who relentlessly pursues new business while neglecting or ignoring existing customers. Not only is it bad business practice, but as a practical matter, it just doesn't make sense. First of all, have you ever given any thought to the lifetime value of each one of your customers? Start with one of your typical small or medium-sized business customers. You might begin your relationship with them by selling them a system, or you might begin helping them with something as prosaic as a printer. Wherever you start, here are some places the relationship might go from there. They could have the need for an in-house network, along with the application software and systems administration services that go along with it. They have a bunch of users who need to be trained. They're starting to experiment with a presence on the web, so they need web development and hosting services. As they turn over employees, they're going to need more training. All of their application software is going to need to be upgraded at least once, maybe more often over the next 3 to 5 years. As their network grows and they tie it into what they're doing on the web, they're going to begin to accumulate enormous amounts of data. So storage and data warehousing start to become issues. You know, I could go on, but here's the point. Selling those products and services after you've established a relationship is more profitable for you than the original sale was when it comes to return on your effort. Relationship selling is just good business. The other factor I want you to consider is something I call the itch cycle. Customers have an itch cycle for all sorts of different products. For example, most people don't wait until their car is falling apart before they start itching to buy a new one. At some point in time, even if the old car is still serviceable, they start to get the urge to be driving something new. Now, as I said, this concept applies to all kinds of products, and the products you sell are no exception, especially for small and medium-sized businesses. Some of your clients will have longer itch cycles than others, but sooner or later, every one of them is going to reach a point where it's time to start replacing equipment. Now, here's what you need to ask yourself. Who's going to be there when your client starts itching? Is it going to be you, or is it going to be one of your competitors? Clearly, there's only one right answer to that question. The remaining issue then is how you're going to make sure that you're there when the time comes to take advantage of the itch cycle and capitalize on the work you've already done to build a relationship. Obviously, you can't know in advance when to be there. The answer then is to make sure that you're devoting some time every week to cultivating your relationships with existing clients. If you do that, then you'll have engaged in a preemptive strike against your competitors. The number one reason that business customers change vendors is simple. The old vendor just didn't stay in touch. Don't let this happen to you. So how do you stay in touch? How do you cultivate existing relationships? Well, one thing you don't want to do is to make social calls. You know the ones I'm talking about. I was just calling to see how you guys are doing. You know, I hope you don't have time for that sort of thing, and I know that your customers don't. Instead, you need to think of ways to add value over time on a regular, systematic basis. For starters, you need a system that allows you to do this. A sales system, customer management system, personal information manager. Your company may already have such a system in place. If it does, that's great. Take advantage of it. If it doesn't, though, there's no reason that you can't do this on your own. The next step, then, is to keep your eyes and ears open for information that will be valuable to your customers. If you sell into a vertical industry, it could be the occasional bit of industry news that they might not have heard. If your selling approach is not vertically oriented, you might think about general business news, or maybe some productivity tips you came across, or even some marketing opportunity for your customer that you heard about. As you collect any or all of these things, the idea is to use your customer management system to get the information out to your clients. The end result? Over time, You gain the benefit of a more or less constant presence and the goodwill associated with adding value to the relationship. And by the way, you'll ensure that you're the one whose name is top of mind when your customer starts to itch.